Hey guys, this is going to Sky here with another Guardian Tales video. And in today's video, I want to talk about my favorite heroes that I use every day in Guardian Tales, where I use them, which ones I constantly use in this game. Before we get in this video, if we can get a like on this video, that'd be awesome. Also, subscribe to the channel for more Guardian Tales content. So with that out of the way, let's get into the video here. The first one, I think, is going to be everyone's main one, is going to be Future Princess. Ever since I've gotten her, I want to say she came out either last year or the beginning of the year, and she's been a staple character for almost everyone's team ever since then. So she's by far the one character that I've used the most. The content she is not used in is going to be in raiding, and now with the addition of Camo Zone, the 6th stage, sometimes you have to get away with not using her in there because they'll just ban light. Not that I don't want to use her, I have to not use her because they ban light. There is other team comps and stuff that are getting to the point where they're starting to compete with her. Like when it comes to Coliseum, it used to just be purely Future Princess everywhere, whereas nowadays people are actually like Agma, Noxia, and then plus like Sohi, for example, in Coliseum, which is definitely a big change where it's like there's actually competition for this slot. But for the most part, she's, you know, super top tier in Arena, Coliseum, everything. Amazing character, by far one of the most used units in the game. I want to talk about Beth. Beth was one of the characters I really leaned on a lot to get a lot done. She's really great in Arena, especially at the time, but I really liked her in helping to add melee damage in a lot of PvE content. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to clear, like when it comes to Orbital Lift, when it comes to Camo Zone. Not so much anymore, because in Camo Zone, you don't have to like lean on a type of damage, because in that game mode, there's some enemies that will have like resistance to melee or resistance to ranged. So you need to do a specific type of damage, but now you could buy ways to get around that. Whereas before, especially in Orbital Lift, there's no way around that. If they have that buff, you're going to need the correct type of damage. And having this character with the increased melee attack was a really beneficial tool in getting through a lot of those PvE style game modes, while also being a really good character in Arena, amazing in raiding. Overall, a really good unit. If I needed to lean on her for any kind of thing that requires damage plus survivability, she'd be really good in. But all that being said, Lilith pretty much does her job, but a little better in my opinion, because she's ranged, she has healing. She doesn't, she's not as tanky, like directly tanky, but she does so much damage. She has the 50% ranged or a 50% melee buff. Her more than Beth, and Beth I used a ton. So to really give you an idea that, you know, they kind of fill the same role. In raiding, you use Lilith as the main character now, and you still have Beth on the team. So I like that I got both of them. I would only have done this in this order. Like if I played later, I would have gone straight for Lilith, and then maybe I would have gotten Beth later. I don't know if I would have really gotten Beth, because I feel like Lilith does everything that Beth does, just a little better. But Beth is still good in like a raiding environment, but not many people really care about raiding because it's just so late game. These two characters, I want to still give Beth a shout out, but in my situation, Lilith kind of replaced her, which is, you know, kind of a bummer, because I think Beth is still very good, but anytime I'm piloting the character, I think Lilith is better. Next on the list is going to be kind of this similar situation, is going to be MK99. So I think MK99 is absolutely incredible. I use her in every single game mode, but the character that I leaned on heavily before her was Nari, and I really like the ranged attack buff here. The big drawback here is going to be just her range, and her overall DPS is not as high as MK99, and especially in a lot of game modes, like pretty much all of the game modes where I'm using her, that range benefit is such a big deal in keeping her safe. So she would get really close because she's a basket user. She's like right up in there. Whereas MK99, I can consistently have her in the corner, and she's just going to stay in the corner because of just how long range she is. And she just so happens, based on her kit, she does a lot more damage, while also still being very splashable because of her ranged attack 50% ranged attack boost. So I really like her, but I do want to shout out Nari, because I still think Nari is very good. She is basic typing versus light typing, so there's going to be times where I'm going to want Nari over her. I really like Nari still in just how splashable she is in the raiding environment, where you can just put her in a ton of teams, and her main utility is not stuck to her weapon here, so you can change out her typing, and she could work in water teams, she can work in dark, she can work, you know, mainly I use her in light teams, and I've used her in water teams. Those are going to be the two main ones, but you can use her wherever as long as, you know, the chains work out and then they actually work with ranged characters. But at the moment, I've used her there, and then also obviously in basic teams. So very good character, but for the most part, she's been replaced by MK99. The only drawback currently is just how susceptible MK99 is to Sohi in Coliseum. Like, those matchups are very hard, even though they have like a lot of dark characters on the team. Like, you'll see, I think the most popular one is Sohi, Eva, and then Noxia plus Agma. And even though there's a lot of dark characters in a full light team, Sohi is just so strong that, and goes straight for MK99, that is a little tough. So, and then you can't really replace her with Nari, you know, obviously because they have so many dark characters that it's, you know, it's not gonna work out. So it's Sohi's a problem. She's very good in the Coliseum environment and also in the arena environment, but that's probably one of the major drawbacks. Is not necessarily the character's bad, but they finally have like an actual counter to her as a character, which I think is good for the game, instead of it's just MK99s everywhere. And next is going to be Maya, because there's really no character like her in the game. Provides so much healing that when it comes to any PvE content that you're trying to progress through, whether it be Camo Zone or Orbital Lift, and I think people really need to start appreciating just how many resources are in Camo Zone and how important it is as a game mode. So having a character that is like god tier in that game mode is really important, especially for early to mid game progression. And I think a lot of people that are at the point that I'm at, or kind of late game, they didn't have Camo Zone for a while. Like, it came later. So in the beginning of the game, having characters that are good in Camo Zone is going to really benefit your account quite a bit. I think Maya easily makes this list as one of my major characters I've leaned on to progress through really hard PvE content. She's just so good. I think you really do need her EX weapon though. A lot of her healing comes from here. When Depression hit, inflict an extra 20% DPS, damage to DPS, and in case there's a party member on its way, restore party members HP by 10% heal. It's kind of feels bad fully investing in her, but making sure she's survivable, as strong as possible, so she doesn't just get one shot, I think is important. Unfortunately, it doesn't really double dip in other game modes like Arena or Raiding, but I still think she's so good at what she does that I think it's worth it. And then a couple other characters that I do want to shout out. First one being Agma. I really leaned on this guy a lot before I ended up hero resetting him. I ended up hero resetting him because I wanted more DPS characters for raiding, especially since I'm in a higher guild. But at the moment, I'm trying to get him back up. I'm slowly trying to work on him. He's 13 out of 20, so he's pretty close there. But I figured even if I do get him up, getting the hero crystals to actually finish him. Currently, I'm working on Lucy, and I want to finish her. So she's 77 out of... I want to finish her. I'll be able to finish her with the 1-year anniversary stuff. But I think Agma, he's similar to Maya in that they are good in the same environment. He's, the tank side of it versus the healer side of it. And the amount of survivability you get with having him on the team is just so much higher. There's no other character that comes close. You can put any other tank in there, and you get like half the amount of survivability. And I really like pairing him with Future Princess. It'd be nice to get to the point where if I had him and Noxia up, I would love to try out the team of Sohi, Agma, Noxia, and then Eva. I think that team is awesome, and I would like to try it in game modes like Coliseum and Camo Zone, especially on days where light is banned. So you can go full on dark, so you'd have like dark basic. They'll be able to try to finish out stage 6 of the Camo Zone when that's banned. There's probably certain stages high up in Orbital Lift that they might be all basic, for example. So you're gonna want to either go dark or basic to be able to combat them. A lot of times they really like to lean on the basic knight gunners that just melt like characters. So see those a ton. So it'd be nice to have a response to that. Where at the moment my dark tanks are not anywhere close to being leveled up at the moment. So as you can see, Noxia's here and Agma's here, but both of these characters don't really have any use in raiding, and it takes so many resources to level up all these DPS characters. I like to prioritize raiding. That's just me personally. It's just a fun game mode for me, so that's why that's my preference. Whereas if my preference was like Arena, Coliseum, I would definitely have Agma, Noxia, Sohi all leveled up. And so then lastly, I want to say Gabriel, because I use her pretty much everywhere. I really like how she rounds out the teams because she has the crit chance buff. She has a resistance down for light characters. Not really great healing, but she has healing. And then if you're mainly piloting her, she has really good healing, especially now with the buff to her weapon skill. She has like not crazy range, but good range. Her attacks go through people, so she actually does good DPS. A really solid character. She's good in arena. She's good pretty much everywhere. She's good in all game modes, like literally all game modes. There's not a single game mode where I wouldn't use her. I use her pretty much everywhere, which is very rare for this game to be able to be a top tier unit in every single game mode. So I think she's super good and worth investing in 100%. Like she's probably one of the best characters to start the game with. If you can guarantee that you get, like if you had the jumping pack or whatever, I would probably just buy this, get her plus the actual weapon, because she really is reliant on her EX weapon, in my opinion. I think she's amazing. She's so good. I think that's going to be my list here. Mainly, just to recap, it's Future Princess, MK99, Lilith, Maya, and then Ogma are kind of like the main characters I really used. And then the characters I used before those characters came out were Nari and Beth. They just kind of got replaced by better characters in those for me. But just because they're better characters doesn't mean you could get away with, like, I would recommend to the people that already have Beth but then Lilith came out, or already had Nari and then, you know, MK99 came out. There's other, make sure there's other slots you're filling first before you just get the slightly better version. You know, as a content creator, I get to try these characters out and I get to see this. Is the whole point of the channel, is to be able to test this kind of stuff out so you don't have to. I'm going to end the video here, guys. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything, any questions you have, or if there's anything I missed that you guys want to mention down there. And with that, guys, I am out. Peace.